During this project, we are going to be reviewing the primary colors, lines, and learning how to make a paper sculpture. After you get your primary colors, you're going to start by drawing a spiral. So start in the middle with a dot. Start to curve your spiral around. Now we want to make sure that our spiral is pretty wide. So you'll notice the space in between my lines here is nice and wide. And I'm going to go just until I run to the edge of the page, and then I'm going to stop. Okay? And I'm going to do this on all 3 of my papers, making sure that my spiral is nice and big. The next thing you're going to do is you are going to get a pair of scissors that cut in a fancy kind of line. So this line here you can see is going to be a wavy line. So I'm going to start at the edge of my paper and begin cutting right on my line. Now sometimes these scissors can be a little bit tough to use, so you just have to keep being kind of patient with them. If they get a little bit stuck, you just go kind of slow. I find it's best not to close the scissors all the way, and it's easier if I am just cutting so that the scissors are closing almost. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and finish cutting out all 3 of my spirals. Now that I'm done cutting my spirals, I'm going to go back and just kind of trim some of these up a little bit so that I don't have all of this extra paper and I just have my spiral. I can leave this straight line here. That's not going to be a problem. Put this out of the way, and I will do my red spiral as well. Just give it a little trim. Okay, now I have all 3 of my spirals here, and I can get ready for the next step. For this step, we are going to be reviewing the secondary colors, which are green, orange, and purple. Let's practice making more lines. For this part, you get to draw your own lines. You're going to hold your paper either way. It can be horizontal, across, or it can be vertical, standing up. I'm going to do mine vertical. Now on this paper, I'm going to draw 3 lines, and I'm going to do the same kind of line on this paper. So I'm going to do a zigzag line. And I'm going to make my zigzags nice and big, all the way down to the bottom of my page. Now I'm going to do a second line. And a third line. Now I'm going to use regular scissors that cut just straight lines. And I'm going to cut these lines out. For my next 2 colors, I'm going to do 2 different lines. One kind of line on this page and one kind of line on this page. I'm going to cut them out and I'll be back to show you the next step. For this part of the project, we are going to be using a hole punch to make holes in our lines. You're going to pretend that this hole punch is a crocodile's head. Here's its eye, and here's its mouth. You're going to look for the crocodile's tongue. That's the part that sticks out a little bit further than its mouth here. We're going to slide the paper under the crocodile's tongue right here in this little space. Sliding my paper under its tongue, I'm going to make sure that I have my hole punch or my crocodile's head going all the way as far as it can go on the paper. Then I'm going to use my muscles and squeeze. And there's a hole in the paper. Again, I'm going to go under the crocodile's tongue, go as far as I can go with the paper, and squeeze. I'm going to finish putting a hole in all of my lines. After I was done putting a hole in each of my lines, I went back and I chose 3 lines to add one more hole to. So I have 3 lines that have 2 holes in them. You're going to be getting a string to start putting your sculpture together. Start with any line that you want to. I'm going to start with one of my spiral lines. And the first thing that I'm going to do with my very first line is I'm going to tie it to the end. So I'm going to get a long tail here on one end, and my other end is even longer. I'm going to take both ends of my string, crisscross them, fold one end under my shortest end, and pull it. Then I'm going to do that one more time. I'm going to take both of my lines, crisscross, fold one end under, and tie it one more time so you have a knot. If you're having trouble with this part, you just raise your hand and I will come and help you out. Once you have one line tied at the end of your sculpture, you're going to go to the longest, the other end of your yarn, and you're going to start putting your lines through the yarn, putting them all the way down to the other end. When you get to a line that has 2 holes in it, you're going to put your string through one hole, and then you're going to put your string through the other hole so that it creates kind of a loop with your line. I'm going to finish stringing all of my lines onto my yarn, and I'll show you when I'm done. Now that I'm finished stringing all my lines onto my yarn, I'm going to make sure and hold on to my one longest end. I'm going to go back with my other hand and find the other end where I tied it together. I'm going to push it together as much as I want it pushed together. You can leave it spaced out more if you want. And then I am going to tie a knot. Now, if you need help with this part as well, I will be around to help you out if you raise your hand. Okay? And I'm going to put a loop up here, and we'll be ready to hang our paper sculptures inspired by Chihuly. I can't wait to see how your sculptures turn out. Have fun!